Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can paint these gold lips in acrylic step by step. This is part of a little mini course on my channel on metal and metal techniques. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He is going to be here with me until he's got to go pick up the kids from school, and then you may get a co-host with my eldest child, Honey. Today we are going to be marking steps just so that you guys can find it, because this is going to be a big lesson and you may want to get to an area or go over a technique. Hopefully this is sort of proof of concept if you've been doing the course with me, that you'll be like, oh, I totally get this metal thing now. But if you're just here for the lips, I will be explaining it in detail so that you can paint along, even if you haven't been participating in our metal study. This is my plan today. How you like it?
Good. I love this plan.
I love this plan too. Very excited to paint these because I have some mind-bendy thoughts. First of all, I want you guys to look at our reference photo here. I bet many of you think there's yellow in that reference if we were to paint it, but there's not.
No?
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
No yellow?
There's some yellowish colors, but that bright yellow is not represented. This isn't some version of CAD. And it's when you start painting metals, you'll start to realize that there's these weird half tones and hues that are going on. And it's how they relate to each other that makes the effect.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I'll show you when you come down to the palette.
Okay.
You go down to the palette. I'll show you how I know that. Okay, so one of the things that you can do in digital work is that you can come in and take a color picker tool, right? And you can come in and look at the colors things are.
Oh, neat.
And so I swatched here the colors that are in this painting. You'll notice the only ones that even come close to yellow are these on the outer edge, but none of them are bright yellow, are they? A lot of oranges, a lot of browns, a lot of deep colors, a lot of grayed out yellows, but not bright yellow. Skin tone is exactly where you'd think it is, but the rest of it's kind of surprising. Teeth is another kind of little mini knowledge thing. If you've gotten in there, teeth are very rarely painted white.
Yeah.
So that's always interesting as well. If you'd like the reference, that is on the website, and it is also on the event. If you're following over on Facebook and you know where the event is, you can go grab the reference and traceable from the event. The traceable's on the website right now. So if you don't want to draw these out or risk freehanding them, I'm going to freehand them just because I'm always working on that skill. Goes well for me sometimes, goes weird for me sometimes, but I'm always working on that skill. However, it's not cheating to use a traceable in any means. And the first layer of this is going to be super duper easy. Let's begin with a base of either burnt sienna or burnt umber. I'm going to do burnt umber today, but you could do burnt sienna just as well.
Is this are we going to start stepping?
Let's put up a step and begin.
We'll do step one.
Step one. Shall we begin? Let's begin. Ooh, I have a new big brush to try. Look at this.
Ready, layer one.
This is a number 30. This isn't the big one that's in the photo on my Facebook. The big one that's in the photo is here. By no means the biggest brush I own. I should do a smallest and biggest brush I own thing post sometime. Because I have little tiny brushes. Big brush. I'm going to load up my big brush. You grab whatever your big brush is. And just paint the entire surface. This is called toning a canvas, and we're just giving it a color. In some mediums, toning is done in a very thin, almost wash. We don't really do that in acrylic as much because there can be binding issues at home, because it's not like I hand you my paints and you're painting in my studio conditions, right? You guys are in your own homes, painting in your own conditions, and so you might get different results than me just based on those two factors. That can really impact you. Boy, today I can really use a painting. I'm just very glad to be getting 2-3 hours away from anything that's on my mind. I don't know about you, but sometimes it's very nice to escape. You're not Mike? Oh, you took it off for the scream? Oh, he's getting coffee. He screamed, but he was getting coffee, so you may not have heard him. He's like 2 or 3 hours because he was there that long. But All that being said, it probably will be 2 or 3 hours. Now, this is all it is, just a brown beginning. You could do raw umber, burnt sienna. You just want a brown beginning, and that's because it's going to give all of the colors on top of it, whether they're transparent or not, a good unifying base. I'm going to dry this with my hair dryer.
Okay.
And then we'll go on to the next step.
Well, hello everybody. It's good to see everybody out there today. We're going to be painting this metal lesson, hanging out. I'll try to think of clever things to talk about, which probably won't be all that clever or interesting, because I'm a disembodied voice between the interesting things. So, hello. Don't forget, thoroughly dry your surface. The reason you thoroughly dry it is so it doesn't lift. Lifting is where the paint hasn't fully cured underneath, just the top part has. So it's like this layer of plastic on top of this thin layer of uncured plastic. So it just lifts right up. It just so you want to make sure you thoroughly dry it so it doesn't do that.
So it doesn't do that.
Do that.
I'm going to put out quinacridone magenta, yellow ochre, and titanium white.
Is this for a step 2?
Yeah, let's put out a step 2. So if you guys want to come see me and meet me in person and can't do the retreat, where you paint with me in person for like a week, if you can't do that and you are in the Orlando area in April, during Acrylic April, don't worry, it doesn't cancel or change Acrylic April, I will be in Creativation, the NAMTA show, and I'll even be in Artist Alley for like 2-3 hours a day, painting and stuff. Ooh, demonstrating all the Sennelier products. And also scouting brushes. Because you can knock me down, but you cannot keep me down. I'm indomitable like that.
Yep. Like a snowman.
Like a snowman.
Or
now,
a snow woman.
In skin tone, I actually like to gray it. You can gray it with black, but sometimes it's nice to gray it with ultramarine blue as well. So I'm going to put a little ultramarine blue out. And I'm doing this because it'll purple cast the skin, which will play with the yellow lips and maybe be kind of dramatic, and I like that idea. Let's make a skin tone. Titanium white, yellow ochre, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber. I am pulling out a brand new Filbert number 6 from Simply Simmons. You could use my cat's tongue here if you have my cat's tongue. And I'm just getting this. This is so new, it had sizing in it. That's how new it is. And I'm going to begin by taking a little bit of my quinacridone magenta and my yellow ochre to create a base for skin tone. Put a little brown in there, like you do. And then you just take it over to your white. I think I need a little more yellow. There we go. I like to sketch in with a skin tone, and the reason is because then it'll make it the easiest to erase if I change my mind on anything. I'm adding a little more brown and yellow until I hit one that I really like. Match it against my thing, and I'm going to sketch in my lips. So if the mouth is kind of oriented at the center here, and it's almost to the edge, and it really takes up a huge amount of my surface. So I'm going to take a little curve for the lower lip, and I'm beginning with the lower lip because it's a nice anchor, and then I'm going to tip my canvas up so I can see it better, because sometimes when you're painting flat, it's hard to see things well. I always think it's super fun to do these like cold turkey like this, like free-handed, going, yeah, let's do it, and then panic about the layout later. Doing the little pillow in the mouth there. There's sort of a kind of little weight here. You can barely see it, but it's definitely there. Comes into the mouth, and so it's good to play with that and see if you can capture that pillowing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And bring a little upper lip open, and it's open just a little bit, enough for teeth to come out, show. And then the lip will curve down. And I'm going to tip up just so I can get a little scale. because I want to leave a little room up top and to the sides, right? My lips take up a lot of the canvas, but they're still a little bit of room around. I'm going to come back up again.
I have to say, those are much more Aerosmith lips than they were in the reference photo.
How you mean?
Well, remember the Aerosmith cover where they had the really plump lips?
I think it's the same plumpness. Same plumpness, babe. It just looks like that in the flat canvas.
Maybe.
Same plumpness as the reference photo.
I guess so. You know what? I think lips are just bigger
than you think.
Because they got all that curl.
They do. They have a lot of curl to them. I'm getting whiter when I'm like refining the sketch.
So perhaps that's why all of my drawings have thin lips. They look like they're little tiny lips.
There's a lot of variance in mouths, how full they are, and how the lips are positioned. If the upper lip is bigger, if the lower lip is bigger, if things are forward or back. And you would just kind of, as artists, try to observe what we see. John is funnier than I am today. Today is learning. It's study day. It's not funny day. It's study day. So I'm just coming in and I get a little bit lighter. And the nice thing is, even though I'm going gold and everything over here again, I really like to sketch in. And then see where I end up going. More thoughtfully.
Follow the lips.
I do like using the filbert or cat's tongue as a sketching tool because I think it does a really good job. If you did the first acrylic April with me where we had the drippy lips, this is a good comeback. If you did the cherry lips with us in the patronage, if you think this was fun, you should see the cherry lips that we did. Theoretically, I like to just do up close lips.
Yeah, you do. You do lots of lips.
I have some from years ago from my first daily painting.
So many lips.
So many lips.
Rainbow
all right, how
lips,
are you going? Hi,
drippy lips.
C.G. Schroeder, Nancy.
Glitter lips.
Is giving some tips to Nancy about how to use a computer screen as a light box, which is a really good way of doing it. Lots of ways to get around that. There's projection apps anymore that, can kind of make it look like your traceables on your canvas. They're a little difficult to use, but they're doable. You can print out and transfer it on. You can print out and hold it up to a window sometimes.
Windows work great.
Yeah, windows work really great. So there's a lot of ways, and your computer screen works great. Just don't damage your screen.
Yeah, and like anymore, you can get a light box on Amazon pretty cheap. And if you go to Amazon Warehouse, you can get a light box even cheaper.
Oh, good question. Lula, Nana, Jody, does cinnamon like gouache? I brought some to try. Love it. My experience base is actually in medieval painting techniques. There is Gurney, James Gurney.
Right.
I don't have a lot of artists I necessarily recommend anymore on YouTube, just because sometimes it gets weird. But I'm going to go on a limb here, because I don't think it will, because he's so pragmatic and professional and stuff. There's a guy named James Gurney, and he does gouache in his foundational understanding of basic art. He's good. I never have to he doesn't ever misinform anybody about anything. It's fantastic.
Material safety, all that kind of stuff seems to be pretty
on
sound.
point with it.
Yeah.
He's got it handled.
Been
all right.
to art school or something. Knows
and then
basics.
Tonya, am I doing this right? Is it Tonya or Tanya?
Tanya?
Yeah. Do you think blue Serral transfer paper will work for tracing this image on? I'm out of white. It will. Just do it light because that Serral paper has so much pigment in the blue. And the blue and the red, if you notice, is really pigmented. So when I'm using it, I just do it very lightly. So I have just enough to see where I'm going. And I don't get on a deep like I might with the yellow or the white because it really pops in. On this, I don't think it'd be too bad, but it might be something to do. Okay, let's call it a step. Very groovy, like loosey-goosey hanging out together day. As I try many, many different of my new brushes. I'm testing my brushes, guys.
Third step.
I have to test brushes like you do. That's what I'm doing. I think I'm going to, for the moment, I'll continue on with the number 6, though. This number 10 is calling to me. Look at this big boy. Oh, but I'll keep on. Keep on keeping on. Let's begin outside of the lips, and we'll start the skin tone. Now, if you'll notice on this, the lightest of the skin tone is towards this outer edge of the face. And I'm going to want to really work all those mixes from here. If you just have cad yellow and quinacridone magenta or cad red, I have a bunch of skin tone videos that address just those color mixes. Come out here and just start to paint it.
Oh, it's pretty
It's
straightforward.
it's ready layer one. You know what I'm saying? We'll just begin the process. Again, sometimes I like to tilt up so I have a good vision on it. Because it's rough to work flat. We work flat because it's good for the camera. It's good for you guys. It's not necessarily good for you guys when you're painting. Bring this other skin tone over. See, I can bring it over very easily.
While you're painting that in, what are your thoughts on the buffer of the titaniums?
Titan buff?
Buff.
So there's unbleached titanium, Titan buff. Unbleached titanium is titanium white with a little raw sienna in it. It is a knockoff of the original pigment made by Golden Artist Colors Titan buff, which is actually a different pigment. It's like a new pigment.
Ooh.
It was an accident that happened when they were making another paint, titanium white. And then they realized, ooh, it's a very cool color, and we can duplicate it. And then everyone was like, it's so popular, let's make our own. How do we make it? Oh, we can't. So that's what they do is they take raw sienna and titanium white. And it's really fantastic for skin tones.
Interesting.
So is zinc.
Hello again, Australia.
This is that just first layer of skin, right? So we're just getting that on it. Let's get her, we're like Hellraiser over here. First layer of skin. Sorry. If you don't get that, it's a very old horror movie.
When calling someone a pinhead was a sign of respect.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could be.
You'd be Mr. Pinhead.
To you, sir. Yeah, the whole premise of that, I was like, I was never going to end up there. The box was never going to come to me. I just wasn't curious about any of those things. I would pay you money not to take that tour, so I wasn't ever going to end up there.
If I ended up with that box, there'd be a trip to the Mariana Trench. And a bucket of concrete.
Yeah, but you had to be like on a weird life's journey to even end up with the box, one we have never been on.
No.
Like every once in a while, if you'll notice, I'll go into my yellow ochre, I'll go into my burnt sienna. I'm not going into the quinacridone magenta very often, if you're noticing. I'm coming over to the titanium white. You can see this is starting to get us into that first kind of range of skin tones. Now I've got a little bit of the shadow happening under here, so I can come in with a little burnt sienna. And watch. Remember how I said I keep the ultramarine blue there? So if you work that into a skin tone, it makes a terrific skin shadow, I think.
Neat.
One I like very much. It's okay to come in a little bit on your lips, and the reason that it's okay to come in a little bit on your lips is you can always paint them out bigger if you want to. You can always do that. Okay, let's call this a layer, because you need this messy layer on to get anywhere. A little lighter on this outside here. We'll pick up a little bit of the shading around the different spaces, but we want to create kind of a nice matte field. We're not going to worry about getting so hyper detailed in the skin. If you wanted to get that detailed in the skin, you would take this project from a few hours to 40 to 100 hours. So it's real different in the amount of time you invest in it when you start really getting into those details. But we're going to take it further than you think. I'm going to draw my painting again. John's going to heat my coffee.
And I'll give you a step.
Awesome here together.
It's the step, right?
It's a step.
All right.
Step it.
So we're going to leave the little step here to talk to you guys. Don't forget, check out theartsherpa.com for all of our cool and interesting stuff that we make for you guys. And what I mean by that is there's mini books, traceables, reference photos, all sorts of stuff. The newsletter's pretty good. We're improving it all the time. Um, if you're a patron, you can go to your patron dashboard, find all the cool like videos that Simmons putting up for you guys. And that's really where like we're trying to centralize a lot more of the easy stuff to find. Like if you click on the calendar, you can see the upcoming videos. We have a lot of project pages that list all the materials that you need, some notes on things. The mini books are really, really useful. And we got a mini book library coming together up there. Got a lot of mini books, a ton of them. So that's been pretty exciting. Thank you to the mini book team.
Woohoo! Yay them!
Doop doop doop. It's now no longer a mini book.
Oh,
It's
David
a
East
maximum.
is coming in from Scotland. Hey, David.
Okay, I'm on.
David, I'm gonna be real honest. I almost had a complete Emma moment here. I was with Louis Jane Austen and shouted out my friend who also lives in Scotland.
You're in Scotland. You know my friend Bill. He lives over on the other side of this country, right?
I'm sorry. That's how weird we are here. But thank you so much for coming in today. I love Scotland. All right. Anyways, it's worth it you came because I'm going to tell you some of my favorite things.
Do you know
These
my friend
are some of my
Tanya?
favorite things. These are the number 12 round blender from the Princeton Select line.
Okay.
I'm
there we
also
go.
very fond of their mop series, and I have bought all the mops. Look at it. I got it from the 1-inch mop down to this little teeny tiny mop. And mops and blenders right now have become my deep obsession because they make painting in acrylic so much easier. The other deep obsession that I'm getting into, well, you guys have been here for a minute, you know. Here's the old packaging and the new packaging. Do you love how like they're the same thing, the gloss glazing liquid? Gloss glazing liquid. This isn't a glazing liquid. It does glaze, but it's also an extender and a drying time extender as well. So it improves blendability, lowers drag on the brush. You can tint with it. And so it does a lot of things in one thing. Love these Princeton Selects. I really do. I'm going to put out my gloss glazing liquid just in case I need some. Glazing is a very powerful blending tool, and blending brushes are a very powerful blending tool. You will have noticed that during the hairdry, I was misting my surface. It wasn't with anything other than water. There is a spray that Liquitex made for half a minute that was a palette wetting spray that was fantastic when you could get it out of the mister. Oh, Ashley and Karen are talking about markers and usability and stuff. The other thing I'm going to point out to the blenders, like ones that I've had for a second and ones that are new, like here's a new one and there's one I've had for a second. These are done with camel, not actually made from a camel. Camel is a mix of hairs and they wear down over time. I like it when they wear down the best. I'm going to get my brush wet. I'm going to come into a little of my skin tone now. Let's add some white to it. I'm getting a little bit of that mix from over on the side. And I'm going to begin to kind of blend. Thank you for the hot coffee. A little bit over here. You see this is my lighter value. And it instantly does matte up and smooth out this area, which is terrific. I love these brushes, and they just really make blending an easier task. Who doesn't want it to be an easier task, especially in skin tone? I've got so much work to do on the lips today, I don't have to spend my whole day getting the skin tone right. Not that you couldn't. Take some of the skin tone over here, put a little blue into it, get that great shadow going. How you doing, John? Yeah. All right, I'm going to turn this to the side a little bit. This is the bottom lip, if you're wondering where this is. Top of the lip, bottom lip, orienting on the canvas. And I'm going to make sure that the shadow is nice and smooth as it transitions out. And I can mix this then back into the skin and we can make sure that the transitions are nice. A little bit more ochre and burnt sienna over here because it's warmer. If I need to blend, just get that glazing medium involved. Now, the plus side of this, of course, is that it improves the blendability of the paint, gives me much more of an oil experience. The negative side of it is, much like oils, it takes a little longer to dry, and it can get kind of a sticky stage going, so you have to force dry it with the hair dryer.
Force dry?
Got to force it to dry. You got to be like, I'm going to be the boss of you.
Oh.
I like to paint lips as a subject because they actually show a lot of character and personality of the human experience, but without being like all pulled out where we're taking a lot of data. So it's been fun. I don't post them because I think they will freak people out. I will post them with like warnings in the video about like how a daily painting changed me as an artist. But they've got like scary bugs and stuff on them, so I figured some people might be like, "That's not okay." Let me just dancing through the skin tones. Amazing how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And this does smooth things out so much. It just makes them much smoother, easier to deal with. Surface. And that going. And back into the shadow. A little bit of shadow there at the back lip.
Yeah.
Can totally improve the blendability here if I lighten my pressure. Karen says that her son is watching with. Hey, Karen. I hope I didn't scare Kevin. David, sorry. It was just like so like it was such a weird moment. I swear, that your girl brain does some weird things to you on occasion. And it's also a big assumption too. So like so many things going wrong there inside my mind. And sometimes your brain goes someplace before, your thinking part of you catches up and goes, "Hey, no."
That happens to me.
Not as often to you as it does to me. On the rare occasions that does happen to you, it's an intentional choice. Where you're like, I'm going to just do this right now. Whereas with me, it's like, uh-oh. I'm adding a lighter color. You can see I'm just going back and forth through the range. Now there's a nice little kind of highlight right here. Isn't it amazing how we can hit those little subtle highlights? A bit darker coming up over the lip. Play with that. Isn't that crazy?
That really is cool.
It just starts to capture those little moments. This magic moment. We'll get a little white there, and then I'll glaze it. Corner edge here. A little bit of glazing medium, and again the brush. This just gives us an alternative way to get a nice blended oil effect. You know, oils really, that's one of the beautiful things about them is that their blendability is so long. They have such a low drag on the brush. They're mostly glazing. So they do help us have some easier experiences in some part of the painting process. But I think for me, I find that my patience whenever I do that, because I need to be done. Come underneath the little lip of the chin and kind of, I think it's a little more yellow ochre. Some of those little moments. So I can just glaze that, right? I think we've done a pretty nice job of just painting in the base skin tone, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think we did.
I think so too.
Oh, thank you. Ashley is pointing out that I put the extra firm ones that I could find on my Amazon store so you would know the difference. There are 3 types of Simply Simmons brushes. There's the regular sable, which is sort of a multimedia one. It's a bit softer. It is this, and you can tell the difference on it between, I'll just show you right now. Let me give you the Simply Simmons rundown. It should be a rep. So they have Hog, which is this white stiff filament. They have extra firm. This is the harder one to find and is better for acrylic. And then they have the sable here, which is a lighter blonde down to a dark tip to mimic the hair. This is what we like for heavy body paint, and we like this for heavy body paint. But this can work. You can thin the paint. It does a nice smooth application of paint. It's a self-sealing brush. It's good. And you should be able to get these. I think their retail list is generally around the $6 range, and you should be able to get them around $3, $4. We used to like shout them out a ton.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kept selling out. Let's dry this and go on to the next step.
Okay. Oh man, it's so nice to see everybody out here. It's really been nice. It's going to be a nice little painting here with these lips. I've kind of enjoyed her metal series. So thank you guys for joining us. Just catching up on the chat there. So if you guys haven't joined us in a live chat, you certainly should have a chance to. It's really pretty fun. We get to lots of side topics. So if you're here on the replay, we invite you to make it all to a live. You can find out when those are going up on the website or on our landing page, I think. So if you go to youtube.com/The Art Sherpa, you'll find all of our YouTubery stuff.
What?
I was just saying YouTubery stuff. So you ready for the next step?
I am. Go ahead and throw down a step, and I'm going to put out a few more colors and then talk about them colors a little bit. And I'll go over the whole palette again. And I want to talk to you guys about quinacridone gold because I thought of a way to sort of help you think about it. And I put my money where my mouth is and purchase some things. All right. So you guys expressed some concern about knowing how to get quinacridone gold and who has it. And you can get a lot of these on Amazon. In the acrylic, they just call it quinacridone gold. And in Holbein, they call it quinacridone gold. And in golden, they call it quinacridone gold deep. But you can see from the swatch, it's the same color. So I did see these in other lines, but that's what you're looking for. This one's quinacridone azo gold. Sorry, nickel azo gold. And then there's another one that's quinacridone gold deep. So in those range, if you see quinacridone and gold, you're looking for a rust orange color. It's almost a Chinese orange, which is another good color in this range. Slightly different, but still a good one in this range. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put some of that out because it's just such a great paint when painting gold. So when we're doing these lips, I think I want to kind of come in and take a little of my ultramarine blue and my Mars black together. And let's paint in sort of a deep area. Even here, my lips will have quite a lot of shadow on them as well. So I will have to lift up to make sure I've got good positioning on this. Kind of arcing this line a little bit over because I know I'm going to blend up into the lip with kind of shadow. And I'm adding this out here, not to joker the face, but I'm going to bring the lip down. It's just nice to have that shadow there as well. I'm going to get a little of my quinacridone gold and burnt sienna. And I'm going to bring, this is with my filbert, I'm kind of curling this brush up. You guys see that?
I do.
Kind of curling it up. The lips have a very dark inner aspect. You get a little burnt umber and cad red. And a little Mars black to it. Again, we're just getting that deep. And we're going to also come to the bottom lip and we're curving this out. Now on this bottom lip, when we come from the middle line of the lip, and this will be true up here as well, on the left-hand side, our lines will curve towards the left. And then as we come forward towards the right-hand side, they will start to curve to the right. That brush directionality really does help. The eye, I think it sees the shape of the lip. Some nice kind of inside the mouth, right? I'm gonna rinse out a bit. I think Victoria C is asking if my migraine is better. I have mild migraines. And generally I bring them on myself by like not hydrating or eye fatigue. There's sometimes some eye triggers and it's just really, I just gotta lay down and take a little ibuprofen and drink a glass of water and get it into dim light and then I'm good. And I think it's also related to my dry eye condition. It's not serious, but I cannot get in these studio lights and teach from that space. That's not happening. I'm going to take a little bit of my Payne's Gray, which is my black and blue. And I'm going to start to kind of imply the teeth. Right, so the center of the teeth. It's bigger than you think. Man, the thing about the teeth is it's like very hard to capture teeth in a mouth because and I think it's because our own sense of identity makes us want to have smaller teeth, smaller, wider teeth,
Hmm.
that we don't paint teeth as they are.
That's interesting.
And it could be just, my experience of where maybe I'm struggling with it, but that does seem to be, I think, what. I'm going to get a little glaze going here. Just kind of painting these teeth. Let's wiggle the toe of the brush back and forth. And I can always come back in with, a little dark color. And really start to shape and think about them. It's also okay to think of teeth as imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that can help teeth feel a little more real. And the surface is like, oh, it's a little imperfect. It's a little weird. Grumpy Bunny says, I have no iris in one of my eyes. A small amount of light is like a spotlight focused on it. And unfortunately, I get very bad headache as a result. I feel for you. I feel for you. That sounds much worse.
Mm.
Much worse. My muscles are contracting and opening in relationship to light, and I can't imagine what that would be like. That sounds really challenging. I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt umber and my cad red. You could be using your burnt sienna. That would be okay. Maybe again, get the black into it. Whenever I'm painting metal or metal effects, I just really pay attention to all the hues and values and colors that I'm seeing. I just get really observant of that because that's what's going to make it look like metal. Eventually, when I just do the metal video, you're going to see me paint like flat metallic paint versus like this, which is why we've been like recording these as time lapse. It's so that, we can kind of see how you've got to paint all the colors and values. Now I'm going to tip this up a bit so I can capture this edge of the lip. A little brown. Very dark here. Darker than you think. A little shadow coming up that mid-range of the lip. It'll get a thinner here. And then my brush kind of lightened out into my red, but that's fortuitous, so I went with it. Sometimes it'll happen to you, you'll be like, oh. And then you go, oh no, it's good. It's good, it did it. I'm going to add another little shadow here, like what I'm seeing. So that's my black and my red and a little burnt sienna. And then kind of thin to right here. It kind of works to the outer edge of that lip. Sometimes you have to dip your brush in water. I'm really loving painting with these again.
It's really nice, huh?
Just, man, I want to get brushes made that are this inexpensive and this quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want. That's all I want, man. All right. We've kind of moved this along. Look at that. We're making headway. Now we have chocolate lips, kind of, and a hint of some teeth. Let's call this a step. I have let my coffee sit too long.
Did you? I tell you what, the next step, I'll go warm it up.
And then froth it with a fork.
Froth it.
Froth it with a fork.
We could probably do that.
Take a deep breath. Let it out. Deep breath. Let it out. Deanna Sam says, does anyone paint on a turntable too? They are nice. If you're going to sit at a kitchen table and you're not going to use an easel, this is nice because being able to turn this and see it from different angles is just fantastic. It's like my favorite. I'm going to let John kind of
What am I going to do?
heat my coffee.
I will heat your coffee. You already stepped him?
Oh, okay. Then heat my coffee.
I will heat your coffee.
All right. I'm going to move my lip down a bit. I think I don't want it much bigger than what I have. So I may bring my lip shadow up some too. See how it goes. Because there's sort of white outline. I'm just coming along there. I use the quinacridone gold and I'm just filling that out because I don't want that white outline. Lift it up so I can see it better. Quinacridone gold, burnt sienna. There we go. Sometimes you just want to glaze it a little bit. Now, I'm going to rinse this out, and while this is all having a little thought, I'm going to think about my teeth again, which is my Mars Black and my Payne's Gray and a little titanium white. Let's get some glazing medium on here. I'm still on my number 6 filbert. I think I may move to my blender here pretty soon. But I'm going to just blend this up from the edge. It's okay that there's little sort of lines in it because teeth have like these irregularities and lines and things. Go into my black and blue. Come in and just sort of trim. Make sure that there's some demarked shadows between the teeth. All right. Marking the shadows. Push that one back. Push that one back with a little bit of glaze. All right, and just kind of very slowly pull them forward into the world. Let's get our blending brush again. This is the number 12 Princeton blender that we mentioned earlier. And get into a little bit of a gray with a glaze. Is it cold? Why'd you have to go outside? Ooh, Hannah and Teza is telling a story of migraines that involves needles, so that's scary. Never good. Well, and the thing is that there's levels of migraines. There's mild migraines, and then there's very serious medical migraines that people vomit and they can't move, and it's debilitating. I'm just making sure. I can push that back later because I think that was too much on that tooth. C. Blanton cannot wait for Acrylic April 2022. I'm really enjoying it, guys. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Word prompts, and the calendar probably will come out with the word prompts on March 25th, I think is when I generally release it. But the materials and that information is already out for everybody. So that's always kind of good. I'm going to weirdly get a little bit of yellow ochre and Mars black together. And again, I'm just dancing that around with my little Princeton. Pretty good. They're in there. I love reading how sweet and kind you all are about healing for each other. I think that is quite lovely. Oh, I pulled all done. On my desk is all my new monogram liners. I pulled them all over for the Acrylic April info, and I forgot to bring my monograms back. So monogram liners, I think that they're a really terrific brush to have in your kit. And I'm going to go back and make sure that this is a clean line. And they're very nice to have in your kit. Huh? Blue ones maybe? Let's do the selects. I'll show them both and then. So these are monogram liners. They're long length out. No, not all of them. Okay. Long length out detail brush, and it lets you do like very controlled detail work, which is kind of nice. I'm going to use my Princeton Select one, and I'm going to get a light value. And there is a bit of a interesting little sheen across the front of that tooth. Tapping up and down. Tapping up and down. Just putting little reflections here and there as we see them. Tapping up and down. A little bit on the edge of that tooth. Having a nice little paint today. The world is very stressful at the moment. I'm worried about people that I cannot protect or help, and I think about them, and I hope they're okay. But it can be hard when you have people that you wish were okay, but you're not empowered to make anything okay for them. That's a tough thing. I'm not going fully white. I'm just making sure that there's some little reflection. I can always glaze these teeth to lighten them in a second, but this will end up almost being a grisaille, which is if you did the watercolor video with me. We'll come in a little bit later. All right. Excited about Acrylic April too. We'll be doing 8x8 canvases. Everyone's like, why does it have to be 8x8? It doesn't. Anything 12x12 or smaller works.
And
It has to be square because then that's always the same aspect ratio. That was the decision that I made is by making it square. If you're bigger, if you're smaller than me, you still have the same layout.
An 8x8 was because of how many we do and the size that it
Fits really
takes up.
well on this. I looked at all of them and went,
And
yeah, and
there's a
12 by 12 would take a much longer time. 10 by 10 would take a longer time. 6 by 6 was too small for me. You know?
and it takes so much space on the wall.
Yeah, so true. Let's keep working on here. I'm going to get into my
This is not a new
blender
step.
too. Not a new.
This same step.
Yeah, same step. I'm going to take a little of my quinacridone gold and I'm going to get a little kind of white involved. Check that out. Start to get this little color coming across the lips. Brushing that across using that blender. We are going to really pay attention to the creasing in the lips. That's going to be a big thing for us. But first, let's just get our basic shade, shadow, and value in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
While I'm here, I definitely don't want a light line at the edge of the lip. So I'm going to get into my shadow color of the skin. Glaze it. Because we don't want a highlight. Right here. Highlights and shadows on a painting like this are super big deal. They're super important. So you want to watch for weird halos like that. Where you're going to be like, oh no, no halo. No halo. Is not a warthog over here. No halo. Did that for you Halo fans out there. Back into my quinacridone gold. And a little of my glaze. You know, if you're really stuck on that, you could take your cad red and cad yellow and your brown and get a pretty close color to it. A little different because it's not transparent. And when I add white to this, it doesn't go yellow. It's kind of a peach, which is why I like to use the pigment over mixing a hue. Deborah, thank you so much. Oh, Leslie Marie, if we don't have gold, what do we use? So, you know, where I'm using this, that you can glaze it, you know, you could take the yellow ochre, maybe try to use a little yellow ochre and a little cad yellow and a glaze. You can see it's a little different though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But you can still get there. You don't have to have this. There's 1,000 ways to arrive to this conclusion. But I do like how when you take a little quinacridone gold and you add a little white to it, it's a yellow. And it's a transparent yellow. Why bother with pigment? Why bother? Oh, I missed an earlier one from R. Who was
Oh
R?
wow.
I missed
Right
a Rose DeWill?
Yep.
DeWill. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you very much.
Let's try this.
Okay.
Have we stepped?
Not in a little while.
Let's step.
All right. So we'll go ahead and give this a step. I think it's step 7 of the golden step. somewhere in there. So thoroughly dry between these areas, and I think that was a long step. I'm not really sure. Seemed like it was a while. Got a lot of lips done. But we're just kind of studying the lips anyway. So, okay.
I think I need to pull that lip down, but that's okay. I'll do it as I go. So funny, I'll be looking, I'm like, oh, I got to pull that lip down. Take a little bit of my brown and red. And just pull it down a little bit. All right, I'm going to get back into my filbert. Just my filbert. Just my filbert. And I'm going to take a little of my cad yellow and my cad red. Let's add a little umber to it, or burnt sienna. Burnt umber, burnt sienna. Either is fine. Let's come here and curl a little of that color out. And then right here, I'm going to get a little black on here. It's going to feather blend in. I'm just lifting and tapping the brush down, just kind of blending that in.
Mm-hmm.
Glaze if I need to. Get a little glaze if I need to. Shade that lip. Yeah, I pulled that shade up.
Yeah.
A little more yellow into it. Trim in a bit. All along here, there is this sort of like kind of orange, right?
Hmm.
Glaze where we need to. Cad red, cad yellow.
Looks really cool.
You can take your black over to it. Remember, if you add black to cad red, you get brown. Well, if you add black to orange, you get kind of a burnt sienna rust brown.
Oh.
So it gives you a lot of range. I'm just trying to make sure.
Oh,
A little
thank
bit.
you, Christina.
Up, tip up, up, tip up. A little bit. Thank you, Christina. Fun how that just starts to shape the lip.
Mm-hmm.
We're just enjoying ourselves. Tanya says they look 3D, like they're coming off the canvas. They are in a minute. Like there's going to be weird, like a lot of paint, a lot of paint, a lot of paint. And then final little details and the lips are going to be like, so gold. And then everyone's going to ask you when you paint yours, what gold paint did you use? That's the best. You know you've nailed your gold painting effect if someone's like, what metallic paint did you use? You're like, I didn't. I just painted all the hues. The Victoria C is like, are the details up for Acrylic April? I know you guys are excited to see the calendar, but remember we see that later, right before April. And that way people aren't jumping the gun before April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
But the materials, the canvas, and the brushes are out. They're all out. Let's get a little yellow ochre and a little cad red and cad yellow together. And let's come from maybe the top up here. And then brush down. Okay, to get some glaze. I'm turning my lips just so I have a little control over it, right?
Yeah.
So this is the yellow ochre, cad yellow, a little cad red, and I'm sure I still had some brown on my brush. Sometimes in this stuff, it's about not just rinsing your brush too much. I'm also kind of making sure I've got a nice little lip line here. I don't want to get kicked off the makeup show. Face Off? That's not Face Off, it's the other one. What's the makeup one where they do makeup? And then they've got to go into the room and they've got a few little things and it's always like, did you get a tight lip line? Do you have symmetry? And I'm like, I would be like, I'm an artist. When is anything symmetrical? That was not my priority. Were we supposed to be concerned with that? A little bit of a glow down here. The bottom. Get your
These layers really make it come together.
They do. I'm adding a little more rust to it. I'm looking for where there's a bit of an orange reflection versus where there is these pumps of ochre and even almost into this creamy yellow, which we're going to get into in a little bit. But we first have to capture like that base look. So I'm going to get a little burnt umber and Mars Black together, and then I'm going to add, shockingly enough, yellow ochre. This is almost like an aged gold. Right? See how that is?
Mm-hmm.
Right there? A weird color, but it's on the lips. I promise you. I can show you the swatch. And that's why sometimes it's a good idea to swatch things that you think you're going to paint. I'm doing little brush strokes that are on the edge, and I'm flicking down, and I'm making them irregular. And I'm doing that, guys, because lips are very crinkly, especially when they're young or soon or just injected.
I see. I did not know that.
Very wrinkly little lips. Get some of this over here too, because there's some of it over here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the outer edge of this here definitely has some down to the. Get into that little orange bed here. Always useful. A little more yellow on there. Grab a little of that right over to that. Just about finding the little shading of it. A little black. There we go. Took a minute to capture that, but we got there. We're like, we are not going to give up.
Yeah.
Until you're there. Back into the black. And the yellow ochre. A little more yellow ochre this time. A little white into that. Glaze it. No. That's important to know where you can glaze and get the effect that you want. So we're starting to glaze that outer edge. Glaze it.
Glazed.
Right here. And it comes across this edge to that lip. How close we need to observe stuff like this. And get some of my quinacridone gold. I really like it. I get why sometimes it's hard to find things, guys, because like I realized the stuff my mom and I recommend are sold out everywhere. Like in almost every line of brushes that there's an approximation. And I'm like, they must not make that many. And come under here. And tilt up so I make sure that I'm happy with my effect that I'm doing. And I'm adding that gold light underneath here. A little glaze. Brushing up. You can see I've got a kind of a curl to the brush. Up here at the top, kind of again, brushing down, just trying to pay attention to the shape of the lip. We're doing good, guys.
This is really great.
I love doing this. It's very calming for me. The process of just finding the layers. Let me get a little cad yellow over here. All right, let's look at this overhead, see how we're doing on our shape. Barbara's like, you're a fast painter. And I was actually thinking that I was kind of tootling today. Like, man, I'm just taking my sweet time.
All in the perspective,
Let's go over the colors I have on my palette. This
right.
is quinacridone gold. You can find quinacridone gold in Holbein acrylic. You can find it called quinacridone gold in acrylic. Or you can find it called quinacridone nickel azo gold in golden. And there's another company that calls it quinacridone gold deep.
Deep.
So they and I do believe that one of the economy lines does have it in as one of their things. I could be wrong, but I think so. I strongly think so. Looking for another filbert. I've got so many brushes in my caddy. This is a barely loaded caddy. It's barely loaded. You know what?
No.
We're gonna play next level. So this
All
is
right.
called a filbert grainer. Sometimes these are referred to as grass combs and other lines. I've even talked about how you can just take a filbert and take scissors and trim out the edges to get it. So there's ways to get here. Do we have a new step?
I can give you a step.
I'd love a step. I'm going to mist my palette.
Ooh, there's a step.
I'm going to get my brush kind of wet a little bit, and I'm going to mix a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow. There's a lot of brown in the area. I'm using my filbert grainer. Secret weapon brush. I don't know if it's that much of a secret. I talk about it all the time. Adding a little bit of those little little lines there of color. That look good? A little more in the yellow. And I'm going to wiggle the brush. When I wiggle the brush and touch down this lighter yellow that you see happening here, so I'm just getting little bits of it, that starts to look like the highlight reflections in the lip, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to keep my paint flowing off my brush by misting. This is just water. I just got a mister bottle. It's just water. I'm just making sure that I'm making irregular marks. By the way, this brush is also a powerhouse for like surface of waves. If you need to like kick up the result of your wave a bit, make it look more wavy. Fantastic brush for that. And you can just go on the end. See how it's like almost like a fan or something?
Yeah.
But without the kind of patterning of the fan, that sort of predictable patterning of a fan. Look at that go. Little yellow ochre, little cad yellow. More yellow ochre. And I'm just making sure that this brush is kind of breaking up. I'm going to add a little yellow to this and white. Kind of a very off yellow. Coming at the underneath. I would come over here and we just barely touch it. It is here in reflections and shadows that the gold metallic effect starts to really play out. We really start to see what's happening. Look at that go. This is so calming. I could just paint lips on my channel all day, but it would die, but I would do it and I would be happy. I would
Just paint, 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 paint.
all lips. Like a month of lips. Don't worry, Acrylic April isn't a month of lips. I wonder how it would do. Probably not that well.
I think probably could do okay.
Look at that. Those little reflections coming in. Is it honey time? Oh, new coffee time? I'm just coming along here, just adding these little details. Now through the shadows, if you can touch your just little bits of the highlight, I'm gonna dry brush it in, because even in the shadow, little bits of the highlight will get picked up. You can always, if you do too much, you can always knock it back. You're never just completely stuck. It's just just little bits here and there. A little bit. I might even get some quinacridone gold into that to just mute it. Keep it into that off gold color that's so unusual. Just adding little bits of strange reflections in the gold makes me happy. Little, see that weird little wiggle there? Even here, it's like weird little wiggles. Purple cross lip up there. A little cross going. Yeah. Huh? I am out of coffee. I'm going to make my shadow color here, which is my yellow ochre and a little cad yellow and black. But I want a slightly lighter one. Because even in the shadow, there's highlights. Let me wiggle across there, kind of neutralizing it. Just wiggle it out. You've got it. I know it's kind of a little process, guys. I know it takes a second. I love those posts that people do where they're like 10 minutes, an hour, 10 hours, 100 hours. Because sometimes when you look at artwork, hard to understand what went into it just by looking at it until you've done a few pieces where you're like, oh, that definitely had to take a minute because, you know, artwork like that always takes a minute. Get my little gold out here just to work that value. Fun to play with these. A little more of that. Did that come together? Can we view overhead, John? All right, let's see how it's doing from a distance, how we're getting the reflections come across here. Ah, it's starting to really come in. We could step it. We did a bunch of bottom lip, and then we'll work on some top lip, and then come back to the bottom lip. And again, like all the paintings, it's like that last third where all of a sudden it's like when you put the dark shadows in and your when you put your darkest and your highest, that's when it all kind of becomes, you know, a thing. I'm going to take a little of my white and blue and make kind of a lighter color. And glaze. Look at him glazing the teeth up a little bit. Just a little bit. So it's a bit like a grisaille. Amazing how that works. Come in and I'm going to do a little of my quinacridone and lots of my cad yellow. I mean, my cad red and my cad yellow, powerhouses that they are. I'm going to just wiggle my brush here and make rough brush strokes. Get back into that yellow ochre. Make rough brush strokes. So we're making sure that our light looks like it's coming across multi-surfaces. Surfaces are wrinkled. That's another reason why I like this brush, because if I kind of come back and forth in a little crisscross manner, it's a good job of giving me that sort of indirect little highlight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This is why metal messes with everybody. It's very difficult when you're painting it to see all of this in it. Very difficult. Just doing long curved strokes through here, right?
Yep.
In gray gold. So in these areas that are shadow, I'm doing kind of a green gold. It's that sort of yellow ochre, burnt umber, and Mars black base. In the warm areas, I'm doing cad yellow, cad red, burnt umber, and sometimes quinacridone gold to get the different variants in there. That's how we're getting there. Sometimes that's where you got to go.
I can see.
And I just break up the brush. And I love, you can make one of these. If you cannot find one where you live, you can make one by taking little trimming scissors for like hair and giving your brush a little interior haircut, which, as we talked about previously, voids your warranty. You have no right to repair a brush.
I don't know. I don't know that I would want to get into that argument, but I would if someone repaired their brush.
I mean, we would let you, but
Yeah, what I would say is that there's a lot of right to repairs options out there. I would not let a manufacturer push me around if something broke and I had to fix it to use it. That's,
Yeah. Well, they used to make people take bad paint. Do you remember that before we were on
Oh
YouTube?
man.
Not to take credit for this, but honestly, before 7 years ago, when we were on YouTube, the number one answer at an art store when the paint looked like cottage cheese was just reincorporated. It's fine.
Just mix it up. It's fine.
I
It's like,
think the biggest
what?
difference I made in the industry is like return it.
We're
It's
like,
bad.
what? What?
And they
What?
have to take it back. And here's
What are
all
you
the
doing?
manufacturer's contact info. And add a little bit of orange over here.
I do not think this is what you think.
It definitely wasn't what they thought. I love getting that orange in there. I mean, just
Love,
as this
love,
comes forward, it
love,
just
love, love.
I'm gonna love this. I have a little collection of lips. I should put a lip collection together.
Hmm. A collection of lips.
I do. I have a collection of lips. I just love painting lips. I do. And this is why. Look how fun it is. Look how gold this is already. It's so gold already. I haven't even done the big thing yet. Because that's how awesome we are. I'm using the cad red and the cad yellow kind of through this range of reflection where there was quite a lot of red in the light. And if you noticed, if you put the little highlights down in these deep shadows, it lets you realize that, oh, the lips really are here. They're just kind of barely showing is what's happening.
Mm.
A little bit of that gold is going to come running through here. I mean, that orange. I love it. I love it. Come to a breeze. Let it burn. I love it. Tapping up and down, kind of trying to. There's sort of this
Your beautiful lips.
little curve there I didn't want to lose. Let's get into the yellow because, like, I guess it's just hintiest hint of it. Tapping it there. It's amazing how a little is a lot.
Yeah. This makes everybody so happy.
Well, it is happy, right?
Yeah. Very happy making.
It's a happy making thing. I like it. It makes me happy. I'm sure it makes you happy. What's not to be happy about? It's so happy. And again, when I'm going to be the most happy is when you guys pull this off and then your friends are like, what gold paint did you use? What gold paint? Oh, is Lindsay Herbert in the house? I see a hey, Lindsay. Might be a different Lindsay. Might be a different Lindsay. I'm going to come in and get like a very bright yellow orange. I tap little bits of like hyper reflection. Love to do it. Dancing the little brush around at the bottom here, like you do. Let's mist our palette again so the paint keeps flowing. Da, 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 da. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just enjoying I am just enjoying it. I have to tell you, it's just really fun for me. Because as I can see things, as I do things and it comes together, it's like scratching this weird creative part of my soul.
Hmm.
And it gives relief to thoughts that I get stuck in and anxiety maybe. Maybe that's what it is. It gives relief to my anxiety. It does something, man. It does something for real. I love it so much. My superpower is this brush.
That's a good
I
power.
highly recommend it. I don't even know anyone over at Princeton except maybe Angela A. Angela Anderson. It's the closest I know to anybody over there. I'm just saying I really like this one and the blendy one and the moppy one.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I do. I like it. Mm. Let's look at it overhead. Coming together.
It really is.
I'm so sorry you have to sit here for so long, babe.
Oh, I'm enjoying watching. And I
Funny.
can go make coffee.
And
Coffee.
just a little bit of color. Look at that. Rinsey, rinsey, rinsey. Lindsay's been painting roosters, pelicans, and pop art plus pasting.
Mm.
That is awesome.
Keep painting.
Keep painting. Paint, paint, paint. I'm going to mist my palette and get a little bit of white. I am going to treat myself to Queen Gold. Along the top of
Ooh,
that lip.
it is. It's turning very golden.
When I need to do long little reflections in the lip, I turn the brush on its little side, and then when I want to just do sparkles, I do the edge of the bristle. That's how I get that.
Sparkles.
If you're wondering, how do you get that? That's how I'm getting that. I'm just going to dance here
Mm-hmm.
as I go. Just dancey dance.
Dance.
Dancey dance, dance, dance. Dancey dance, 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 dance. It feels good to my brain to do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Feels so brain, 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 brain. Brain relieved.
Ooh.
Like after I'm long gone, people are gonna be like, "Wow, lips."
She did a lot of those.
All kinds of theories, but only the sure bets that are left to be like, "She just like a lip." I've been thinking a lot about NAMTA and Creativation this year, which again,
Mm-hmm.
you guys can go to in Florida. They have open to the public tickets. It'll be the first time the public can go to the North American Trade Show because they used to be partnered up with this weird college tour, kind of related, sort of, but it was really strange and didn't really work. But now they're going to be like they're together, and I've been thinking a lot about Bob Ross Inc.
Have you?
Yeah, because the public can get to them there and have a direct conversation. And I've been
That's
wondering what
true.
that was going to be like.
I'll have to. Let's see.
Or if like anybody was going to, I didn't do anything. I just took my videos down and just dropped links. That's all I did. It was appropriate. I unfollowed and I dropped links and I just stopped giving my financial support. And I definitely discourage people from doing anything past that because it's just not appropriate. But some people, did. I just wonder, like, am I going to have to, like, hear about that? Like,
Hmm.
thinking about it.
I do.
So maybe you guys need to come to make sure I'm not in trouble. Make a wall. Make a wall. Adding these high reflections, right, really just makes those lips be. Man, it's like an itch.
It's looking good.
It just looks good and it's like an itch and I love it. And I love this brush for this. Princeton Grainer and it's from the Velvet Touch line. Here's what I'll say about the Velvet Touch line. They got some weird coating on the handle that I dig. It's if you have sensory needs,
Huh.
it is just feel this. Here, I'll pass it to you. Feel this. Just and tell them what it feels like. It's very good.
They just got a satin finish on the wood.
So nice.
Yeah, they just got a satin finish on the wood. So it's nice. Feels good in the hand.
Yeah, it does. It just feels good in the hand. I use little as the reflections come in, it just looks better.
It does. It just keeps getting better and better.
I just can't even, I mean, I can because I'm here doing it, but
That's right. We're watching you.
I love that I'm doing it. And if you're, I'm okay if you need to pass me over to Honeydew.
We don't have to be at kids for a little while. Maybe 45 minutes.
Oh, I might be done by then.
30 maybe.
I might not be done by then.
We'll see.
We'll see. I'm just trying to enjoy taking this the full direction because when you guys get to see things hit their full space, then you really start to understand how they're built. And also, it helps you manage your expectations on what it takes to do something. Sometimes I think it's very hard to know what it takes to do a thing.
It can be difficult.
How are you supposed to know? It's like could be adding a little more of the gold as I come down the side because it's not quite as white over here. These are little things that you pay attention to, right? Like you say, oh, there's highlights for sure, but they're a little more in a deeper range. So then you add more paint, like more color to that paint. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'm just into it, man. Just can't not be into it. I love finding the little values and like finding some little color, some little gem of it, some little oosh.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys have just fundamentally, change the direction of how I am as an artist, because the needs of the the needs of teaching online require that, I am able to just sit here and stand and deliver a painting and explain what I'm doing, which was so different than, even when I used to teach before, it was just different.
Hmm.
And I feel like such a happier, stronger painter because of it.
Oh.
Let's look at it over up top.
Got it.
A little bit of black in there. Gray gold going again. Man, guys. Oh my goodness, I'm loving this. It's just coming together. It's just coming together so well. Again, still in my grainer. I'm in my quinacridone gold, getting that crazy off yellow going. I think it's interesting to know how multi-directional the surface of lips are. Really fascinating to me to study that sort of quality to them. How they're just super directional. Thank you, C. Blanton. I appreciate it. I'm having a blast. I hope you guys are having a blast. When you're doing this, make sure as you rinse out your brush, you look for water on the ferrule, because it can come down and sort of pounce you in a way that you might not like. Creating that highlight that we initially kind of worked in. See, we're still in our highlights and our shadows that we initially blocked in. Okay, so I'm on a wet palette, which is this paper that's soaked, a wet sponge, and I mist as well. I have my fire going, so the room is fairly dry for me, but overall, all right, continuing to come along. Okay. You can do this, guys. You can. Nay, supernatural investigator. NA, due to the current crisis, coffee will be rationed. Do you mean the crisis in Ukraine is causing coffee to be rationed? Are you in there? Like, like, there's so many crises actually afoot, but it's hard to know which ones would impact coffee. But then we also have a personal crisis that might be impacting coffee. So that's what happens when you read the chat out of the blue and you're like, wait, what? Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. I need more context for the crisis that NA was mentioning, I think. And then I gotta wait because it's a 30-second delay. Lynn says I got her painting again. That is awesome. Thank you, Lynn. You're amazing. There is no pleasing shortcake. Not unless you give shortcake an actual cake. That is the only way shortcake will be pleased with anyone. Oh, someone mentioned empty shelves in Arizona. New York has full shelves. Yes, I have not seen a coffee shortage in the area. But I mean, I think we're going to see we are much more connected than maybe we all knew. And I'm sure as we're all impacted, we're going to see different shortages. That would not surprise me. I don't want shortages. I don't look forward to shortages, but I'm sure it's possible. Get wet on the brush, a little wet on the brush. More of these are like little scratchy lines. So in gold, it's really about capturing the shadow colors, the reflections, and then those highlights. And it's almost never about gold paint or a pure straight up gold color. And this wouldn't be improved by painting a gold over it. I'm getting a really light highlight right here. See that? Oh, thank you, Ashley. I'm making an assumption there, but I'm going with it. Okay. Cheryl Rogers, I just left Arizona and the shelves are not empty. Well, it could also be region by region. Some areas have better grocery supply than other. Like in Houston, you could have areas of town that wouldn't have groceries and other areas that would. HEB was really able because it worked locally with a lot of people to keep stuff on the shelves, whereas maybe other national chains weren't as good at doing that. So we've been remarkably low in half and half. Yeah. Yeah, half and half has been really. That's a big deal for John because John uses. I use soy creamer in my coffee, which is also off and out. But John uses half and half. So mm, I think I'm still sort of in this detailing stage of capturing little details. Hmm? Adding these that look brighter. I'm just building up the reflection. Quinacridone gold is not needed. It does help. You can absolutely work your cad yellow, your cad red, and a little burnt umber and golden glazing liquid. But when you add white to it, you get kind of a peach, whereas when you add white to this, you stay in that yellow range. And that's the difference between a pigment and a hue. But it's not needed. You could do this with pencil and get a very similar effect. And the reason you could is because value is as important as hue. Other colors that might work really well is a Telluride yellow. Any of the really orangey yellows that are transparent in their nature. I'm just kind of adding little flecks of reflection there. And just tiny little flecks of reflection right there. Reflection. Reflection. Going back and forth, getting those kind of like little pockets of the lip that are creased and everything. And I haven't even done the shadow, which is going to really pop it. Because there's actually, believe it or not, quite a lot of shadow. You know, this is definitely in my 3 hoot range where I rate it because it's time consuming. It does help to have specialty materials like glazing liquid, quinacridone gold, a grainer brush. Thank you, Farah. Those things do help. But there's always a workaround in art. Always. So, you know, always look for the workarounds. You know, there is always something, and you know, like sometimes I'll look at it on TikTok and I'll see young people with terrible art materials, like for the quality of work that they're doing. The quality of work they're doing is so up here, and they're just working, you know, like what they have access to, and still fantastic work. Still fantastic. The fact that they couldn't get high end materials did not lessen the work. It just lessened the archival nature of the work, maybe. And that really is a restorer's problem, not their problem. Thank you, Farah. See, I've got my golden glazing liquid here and my titanium white. This would also do really well with like zinc white or any of those things. Those things can be very useful. As we go, putting that high, brighter light in there. Doing so great. Sometimes we do bigger areas like that where we push the brush across, and sometimes we just use the separation of the brush. Get a little bit of a reflection going there. The more we do, the more it shows. Okay. We are going to get my special co host, my eldest child, Honey. Many of you have known Honey on my channel for 7 years. A lot of changes. A little deeper gold when I come in to highlight this. I don't want quite the bright area that it is for up top. I definitely want to, the highlight's there, but it's just in that deeper range. So maybe I go back into that gold, right? That deeper gold, and still highlight through here, but do it in more of the pure pigment. You know, you could do this in raw sienna. You're just looking for those ranges of warm browns and oranges, right? That's what you're looking for. And then also be able to create those green golds with black and ochres and stuff. So very useful. This is the longest step, but it is an important step, isn't it? We're just owning this today, aren't we? Lynn says Honey is doing a good job. Yes, they are. They are amazing. Very proud of my child. Dad is teaching Honey how to do steps. We'll see how that goes. The steps. Just creating those little values as we go. And honestly, that's just the dance that we're doing all the time. Look at us go. We're doing it. We say we're doing it, and then we do it. We deliver what we promise. Don't you think, John? That's okay. Honey, up to co-hosting? Okay. The school is so strict about picking up your children. They really expect you not only to drop them off, but come back and get them.
Yeah, at that specific time, too. They're
At
all
that
like,
very specific
they get
time.
all upset if you're 45 minutes late.
That's
like,
not going to be okay.
You know, your kid's just hanging out here. And I'm like, yeah, they're hanging out there.
Man, okay, I'm going to tell Gen X story, right? When I was a girl, my parents left me on the steps of my school 4 hours because they were at the beach body surfing.
Yeah.
And nobody came by and even corrected my parents.
I would say on a regular basis, it was left to me to be to my own devices until my parents were available.
Just this idea that, legally you have to come get your kids is new.
I have walked miles because I did not have a ride.
Oh man,
on a
I
regular
started
basis.
because I didn't want to wait 4 hours again. I
Uh-huh.
just walked 4 miles? Not that bad. It was 4 miles home, but still.
It was uphill both ways in a downpour of snow.
I didn't have
in
any
Southern
snow.
California.
It was California, but it did have an up and downhill because hills work. They're not one direction.
But it wasn't uphill both ways. At least not the
There
entire
was
way.
an uphill no matter which direction you went, and there was a downhill no matter what direction you went. That's just how that hill works. I'm tapping up and down and just making sure that there's little moments of reflection all through these lips. So thank you for being here, honey. I understand you're going to be quiet on the show because you're feeling a little under the weather. Overstimulated. So, honey can find themselves overstimulated sometimes, and it can be a really overwhelming experience. I don't know if any of you at home know what that feels like. I'm sure many, many of you do. And I think it's important to be able to vocalize when one is in that state to say, "Hey, I'm just too much input." I'm gonna come in and get another little very light. I am going to come in and do some bright highlights and some deep shadows. Honey, are you up for a step or do you want to wait for Dad to come back? I wish I could hug you. I send you a hug. You know you're one of my favorite people in the universe. I love you very deeply. I don't know. Was that what was cycled up or? I'm going to get a bright highlight. So it's the little gold here and a bright highlight. This will be my lightest. And get my brush a little bit wet because I really want it to come off well. And come up to the top up here. And tap up and down. Boy, do I love these grainers, right? They do such a good job. This is where poppy pop pop pop. Mm. Poppy pop pop pop. And tap the edge of the brush and come along the top of that lip. Look at that go. All right. Hugs to honey. Everyone talking about, how much high school. Come through a ring of light here. It's important to capture those bright rings of light. I love painting things that look like things sometimes. I really do. Capturing those bright, bright moments. And that's going to run across exactly where we've been kind of putting our highlights, right? As we go. It looks white on the surface, but it is not completely white. It is an off-white. Oh, you are the most amazing. Look how pretty these are. Using the edge of the brush to kind of create those little random pockets. That's how we do. Ah, it's like, it just is. It just scratches like a little itch in my brain. I'm just like, man, I'm so into it. That's where the gold is. Just putting the bright, bright, bright highlights. You okay? Are you in a panic? Pour half a cup. And you put up step 10 and I hope it's step 10. Oh, wonderful. And he's all over half, and then I will primer myself. Good, good, good. You're perfect. You're amazing. Thank you Most incredible partner. Thank you. So we've already stepped. There's the go get your child or people will yell at you alarm. Including child. Child will yell at you too. And Acosta says it's prettier than the reference. I'll take that compliment. Gold study. But this is how we study, right? We just calm down, we slow down. And I can keep it with me and get it away. We calm down and we slow down and we study. And we use our grippy thing to pick up our fallen rags. Studying art is pretty fun. Just lightening up that area there. We haven't even gotten the shadows in. We're still like doing this good. It's just working out really well. Working out really, really well. Irene says I used to have a gold lipstick I wore with a gold outfit. Usually worn at Christmas parties. You know, hairstyles used to be wild back in the day. Oh yeah. Oh, you know, hairstylists used to be wild back in the day. I feel like hairstylists still wild. I think that trend continues. To be real honest, I follow a lot of hairstylists online. I hear gold lips and think of David Bowie. Well, that is a reasonable association to make. I'm going to mist my palette again. Very light dusting of that reflection coming across that side. Those little elements sometimes can make such a huge deal. Still pretty light, but maybe a little more gold in it. Love you. And we're doing great. Things are good. Things are okay. That was a little much. So if ever it's a little much, just come back with a little bit of a darker color. You just knock it back. Oh, Catherine, thank you. Amethyst Rock says I'm painting a gold James Bond villain. Kind of a little bit. Painting is hard. I don't have patience, so this is really helping to see. I don't finish either because Sherpa always has new stuff. Maddening a little bit. AA should be wild for a first timer. So the rule is for Acrylic April, if it's your first time through, you do your best to do a painting every day. But if all you do is paint every day, then you're still winning. And if all you're doing is painting 2-3 times a week, then you're still winning. You just make the goal work for you. It's about consistency and repeatability and sustainability. Now, for me, the big transformation was hitting that daily painting and doing lots of little ugly paintings till like I broke down and come back up, and I'll do a big talk about it ahead of time. But it's more important that you keep your painting practice enjoyable than anything else, because you've got to keep doing it, right? That's the big thing. You're where you are right now, and other goals shouldn't become in front of that.
Hi.
We're still just going through.
I'm doing okay now.
Are you?
I unmuted and put in the headphones.
You're unmuted and put in headphones?
Yeah.
You're almost social again?
Almost.
It's it's hard to get overstimulated.
Yeah. I just I got overstimulated and then I forgot we had this today.
Oh,
And that came got me and I was like, oh no.
oh no.
Because I was like non-verbal stimulated, like, where you
Mm-hmm.
just crawl into a blanket and don't do anything. But
But I
I'm
like
okay
that we
now.
can talk about that. That's what's happening
What?
now. I like that we talk about that. That's what's happening now.
Yeah. I had some cookies and I feel better.
Cookies are the great healing wonder of the world. Can you give me?
A step?
Yeah, I think I need another step just to break this down a bit. A bit. There we go. Excellent. So I'm going to, while I'm here, put the reflection that is across the tooth, and that is still the ultramarine blue and Mars black. I'm using my monogram liner, but I'm going to get some white into it. So it's going to be lighter than the tooth for sure, but not pure white. I'm tapping the brush up and down. I find that on reflection, sometimes when I'm trying to capture an uneven edge, that's a very helpful thing to do. And then I can just go into more and more light color. So that even this surface reflection has the little variances that you kind of see. So sometimes even a highlight isn't just one thing. Pretty awesome, isn't it? It's really good on that tooth. That like was bringing it there. Is bringing it. Is bringing it. Why am I that excited? I don't know. I am. Love it. Love it. Veronica Watson. And I want to thank you for saying this is gorgeous. Oh, Kenny worked with a girl named Honeybee. But Kenny has a very sad end to that story. You should have read the whole sentence.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you lost your friend. It's like when you have the wrong tone at the beginning of a sentence and then in the middle you're like, I need to have a whole different tone. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. I read the sentence in the same way.
Did you?
Hmm.
It was like up and then oh no. All right, let's do a thing. We're going to come in. I am going to still do more highlights, but I want to come in and start working some of these shadows. So I'm going to take my black and brown, maybe even kind of get a little of our cad red in there. So this shadow is an interesting one to find because value-wise, you do want it to be quite dark, but hue-wise, you want it to reflect what you see in the lips. Which means, the color that it is should feel like it goes into the lips for their gold nature, all the worn browns and rusts and everything. But hue-wise, it should almost feel like a black. So I'm tipping this on here. It's always a little challenging to get these in at first. You gotta. Very light. And have it all the way. So some of the shadow is like more into the brown and some of it is more into the black. it can be hard. I'm glazing here.
It looks a lot like metal.
Does it look a lot like metal?
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's the goal. It is the goal for it to look metallic.
I think I'm gonna skip my live today.
Hmm?
I think I'm gonna skip my live today.
Are you just too tired for it?
I, you, I'm just too much.
Well, it's good to recognize where you're at.
Yeah.
I had to miss a Patreon live because I had a migraine the other day. It just happens.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's looking good.
I'm just lucky I don't have any commissions to finish, otherwise I would feel pressure.
It can feel like pressure, can't it?
Yeah.
You want to take care of the people that are taking care of you, for sure.
Mhm.
Just making sure that I've got a few shadows in there. I have really enjoyed painting this today, honey.
You
It
really
has,
like it?
yeah, doing this type of work because at some point, you have to get out of the subject matter, out of your own head and out of your own way, and stop thinking about all the things that you've been thinking about that distract you and just be in the painting. Just because this type of subject matter demands that. And it allows me to kind of like whatever I've been carrying or chewing on or frustrated about.
Yeah. That's how I feel with art a lot of times.
Yeah,
I've had a couple pieces I felt like that lately.
that's good. That is when you know you're in your zone for your art, as your brain just starts to smooth out like a koala. So we're
Hmm.
just looking for little shadows, fine lines, little lips. Um, you know, just trying to make sure that it's a balance between highlights and shadow, highlights and shadow.
Yeah. Sandy said that I so can't do commissions. I find it so stressful, and I don't enjoy it at all.
Well, and that's an important thing for artists. Here's a little art business advice I'll probably do as a talk later. It's very important to know when you are not a commission artist because the that can steal the joy. Like we have a friend Chuck Carson, and you should go follow his social media. He, like me, just produces art like a machine. But we talk about like when you see artists like try to fall into that space and it is not their nature. It doesn't mean they don't have a good work ethic, doesn't mean they're not good at business, but it is not their nature to hear like, oh, that's okay, but can you change everything about it and do it again and not
Ugh.
lose their minds?
Oh yeah, I used to not be able to think that I could do commissions, but I put myself in a space that I could. And speaking of that,
Yeah.
I made sure to put rules in my TOS against that.
That's a big thing with commissions. You got to have guidelines, boundaries,
Like, you can
expectations.
change things as much as you want, but only in the sketch stage. I
Right.
am,
I
like,
actually limit revisions to like a certain number of revisions at each particular stage, which is like because I understand sometimes, people commissioning work can't visualize it in the same way, and so they can, make an error in what they think that they're going to get. but it's not an endless like revisiting thing. Notice that I'm just like finding little areas where I'm doing deeper shadows. Get a contract and insure your work too if you're doing commission.
Yeah, I always have to get paid up front.
Yeah, and there should be some of that work is some should be a deposit that's non-refundable that covers your time and materials.
Yeah, it's easier for me because I definitely am doing a digital,
Mm-hmm.
and like I get that it's very different with like your type of commissions you did with like
Yeah, but we
physical.
still have to pay for licenses on the software and
Yeah,
updates or on the equipment. The equipment has wear and tear, so even digitally, there's a lot of cost involved in producing it. I think sometimes it feels like digital work has a lower cost. It's just a different cost.
yeah.
Getting those shadows in. Does the mini book have the paint colors listed? The description here says to be announced on my way to Hobby Lobby, and I want to make sure I get additional paint if I need. Let me go over these colors, Veronica. The mini book will have it, and I will update this listing. On the palette right now, I have glazing liquid. It is this stuff right here. I have titanium white, yellow ochre, cad yellow, quinacridone magenta, cad red, burnt umber. You could use burnt sienna for that. I have ultramarine blue, Mars black, and quinacridone gold. These are 3 examples of what will work here. So this one says quinacridone nickel azo. I don't know which way are you having. Which did Veronica say what store?
Hobby Lobby.
I don't know if Hobby Lobby carries golden. So
Michael's
Michael's
probably
does,
does.
but I don't know if Hobby Lobby does. I haven't been in one in a minute. Quinacridone nickel azo gold will work as a color. This one is quinacridone gold, and this one is quinacridone gold. I think Hobby Lobby's house brand has it, but I'm not 1,000% sure. You're looking for a very yellow orange that's transparent.
Jessica, it just takes time. It's hard. I did digital art for like so many years. Like so many before I got to where I am now. Um, I used to not know that there were layers. I just draw it on the same layer. And that was not good. Now I do that on purpose, but there's finesse to it. I used to do it because I didn't know there was possibilities.
How much do you think that schoolism helped you with your art?
Um, Schoolism definitely helped me understand a lot of concepts. I think it helped me in the same way like regular art classes help you. They like help you in like certain techniques and things you didn't know and like how things work.
All right. I think that we're about to do the last run of highlights.
New step.
Let's do a new step. I'm going to put out fluid white acrylic just to make my life easy.
The step with no name.
This is going to be the lightest, lightest. So I'm tipping my brush into this. This is titanium white in a more liquid presentation. And I'm going to try to keep this sort of on the edgy edge. See how I'm doing on my brush here. Going across the run of the top lip.
Oop. Karen GP confirmed that Hobby Lobby does not have that paint.
No, no.
But Veronica says that she will go to Michael's. So
Okay.
It seems like she does have availability to be able to go to Michael's.
Uh, Interesting cost thing. If you need to get the cost down on your paint, sometimes the fluid in the little 1 ounce is all you need to do a project like this. And yes, it's fluid, but like it doesn't have to be heavy bodied for this. So Golden carries all of their colors in all their bodies. So if you need a color and you don't need a lot of it, and it doesn't have to be a thick application, you can save money by going down to the 1 ounce fluid bottle.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I do it all the time. Like if I need like some really rare high level color and I'm not going to be using it like a lot, I definitely will grab it in the fluid bottle, which is this one, the fluid acrylic. They have a 1 ounce. This is a 4 ounce, but they got a little tiny bottle and you can get it cheap and sometimes on sale. I'm just tapping around. They may have the Velvet Touch at Michael's because I think and Princeton is carried there as well. Sometimes Hobby Lobby doesn't always get every brand of brushes because they're kind of notorious for something sells well, making their own version of it in house brand and underselling.
Mhm.
It's just a thing.
Got the lip folds.
That's good for maybe you, the consumer, though, because then you get it cheaper. Adding these little sparkle bits. And I'm trying to focus them where I know the lips will have a bunch of reflection.
Oh, well, Heather says that in the UK they have a store called Cass Art that sells the Golden products.
Oh, and does Hyatt's?
Is that
Cass
another
Art and
UK store?
Hyatt's. Huh?
Is that another UK store?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when my brushes were being sold all over the world, because we were in many countries, even in Romania, I started to learn everybody's brush name, brush store area. So it was like if there was a brush store that carried the brush, that is it. If you see my brushes in the UK, grab them because what's out there is it, and it's okay if you buy them on sale. It doesn't hurt me. Just coming down, getting those little highlights. This is where it becomes metal. So hopefully through this process of painting teapots and different things, you're starting to see that, oh, metal is like about shadows, mid ranges, and reflections. That's what makes it feel like metal to us in the painting. Oh, Art Supply Warehouse. Yes, Amethyst Rock. Art Supply Warehouse. Hi, Art Supply Warehouse. They're fantastic. They have really good deals on abstract paint. They were one of the few companies when I reached out to promote different art stores. It was like during the pandemic, and I was doing a abstract acrylic thing. I like reached out and said I would do free coupon. I would share coupons for free, like no charge on my social media. And they were one of the stores that came through and did that. Also, King's Framing and Art in Canada did as well. Capturing little bits of, light. We're getting real close, guys. Nothing in acrylic April will be this hard. I'd like to say that's definitely true. No, I'm pretty sure it's true. There we go. Just getting that little pop of reflection there. How you doing, honey?
Good.
Just trying to make sure that there's a very bright reflection through here. Who's gonna go get a grainer? Or make one. You can make one just as easily. I'm almost there, guys. I feel like I delivered today.
You did.
I love it when I deliver on my promises to my community that I'm gonna paint something and it's gonna be like what they hope from the reference. I love when I actually nail it.
You really do.
It's so good. Let's do more lips. I have so many lips saved. I have this set of lips with honey and bees.
What was with that like internet craze of things on lips?
I don't know, man, but I loved it.
Do you remember that
Yeah.
though? That was like a whole thing.
Well, that's because this one artist was like gluing all these things on lips. And then all these other artists were doing artwork of that artist's photography of things glued on lips. And TikTok doesn't have good content ID, so everybody was getting away with it. Just
It was
saying.
just so much lips.
What I'm doing here is just popping little bits of light will sometimes catch in dark areas. And you've got to capture that sometimes. There we go. Look at that go. Veronica Watson says, I have almost all of your brushes and sets now. Just the round ones are so hard to find. I saw one on Amazon for $38. That's too much for that brush. That's too much. Don't spend that much money on that brush. That brush is not, no, it's a good brush. It's not $38 in that size range good. And that's just because no brush really is. Just the truth. Try eBay. Heather Jacobs, would it be possible to do a study on sand dunes at all? Actually, I have looked at sand dunes because sand dunes are mentally, like, they're kind of challenging, aren't they? They're kind of like a whole thing, and I have thought about doing them because of that. So yes, it is possible. Got to get through Acrylic April, and then we'll be back at whatever we're gonna. I feel pretty happy here, guys. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. My brain is starting to calm down and feel okay about things. Just doing little kind of cross hatching marks just to make sure that there's little surprising bits of reflection that kind of look like, you know, or the, you know how lips are, they're so weird. They're all crinkly and pillowy and wrinkly. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy. I'm going to call it a day.
We step this?
We're all done.
Oh, we don't step the last one?
I don't think we stepped the last one for the signature. All right. So hopefully you guys are able to find your way through this project, and hopefully the, you know, like when the mini book comes out and everything that can give you that extra aid. Definitely try all the metallic studies. There, I believe, will be a couple opportunities to like show off those skills a little bit during Acrylic April. I'm going to make a very light kind of skin tone here with my monogram liner, and I'll come down at the corner and sign. Be sure and watch the short shelf, which is that weird little spot on YouTube that has short videos for mini tutorials and little micro time lapses. That's going on again. And those are going to be big deal during Acrylic April because guess what? If we pull this off right, you're going to see the day before a 1 minute sneak peek of tomorrow's video, the next day's video. Wouldn't that be super cool? We thought it would be cool. I don't know if it's as cool as we thought it would be. We thought it was be cool. Is that Acrylic April still going to be abstract or has that changed? Yeah, the vote did not carry it in the Acrylic April group. So when I put up a poll, it doesn't mean it will be that. It means I'm asking if it will be that. And there was an amazing group of people that were super enthusiastic about abstract, but there was also a lot of people who were very opposed to it. And we didn't pull big numbers in the pro abstract. So what I decided to do is a surprise. And then I'm going to do a bunch of abstracts for the Acrylic April crowd in August because I figured we'd do abstract August. Not like 30 days of it, but like a bunch of it. And there'll be a whole series for that. So that's what I generally do. I do try to always talk to you guys because these are your classes, right? They're the classes that you guys are excited about. And so I do ask questions on Facebook in the groups and polls. And I'm kind of pretty good at knowing, I don't ever try to put pressure on you, like if it doesn't hit this number, but I kind of know what the number is where it represents what people who watch on Facebook are and what people who watch on YouTube will do. And the interest that something is going to carry. And what I almost always do is if there's a small group of passionate, interested people, like this Thursday metal study, that's not everybody wants to do metal, but there's a group who are like, yeah, I really want to know how to do that. Then I'll do a little micro course that goes along. There'll be a course on abstracts, even though it didn't quite reach the numbers because you guys deserve to have everything, all the things, everything for you. And yeah, no, even my moderators don't know what acrylic. John knows because he sees it, but even the moderators don't know. Acrylic April's a little secret this year because, you know, we dropped the word prompts on the 25th, and then I'm trying to drop the calendar in that same range I have in the past. That way, because some people will just go pre-paint the whole month. Just do that. You know, I love the enthusiasm, though. I appreciate the enthusiasm, and I think everyone's going to be really happy with this year. And I think it's what 2022 needed. I know it is what I needed creatively as an artist. And it's not going to be as hard as water in landscape, if that's any consolation. it's not going to be as hard as landscape and water. Those are some intense tutorials, but it's going to teach a basic core skill that you guys asked me about. Probably my second most asked question about how to paint something. So be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And you know where I want to see you? At an easel really soon. Bye-bye.